Ladies and gentlemen, please let me introduce myself. My name is Astri Megatari, and I will be the master of ceremony for the second session. We are opening today's second session with the big theme, infrastructure and technology. Hard Talk 4, harder, better, faster, stronger, building cybersecurity framework for Indonesia's fintech industry. This session will be moderated by the Chairman Indonesia Cybersecurity Forum, ICSF, Bapak Ardi Suteja. Please welcome Bapak Ardi Suteja.
Hello, a very good afternoon to everyone, and welcome to this session of Hard Talk 4, which will bring with us a very good topic this afternoon relating to cybersecurity and how cybersecurity will affect the future of the Indonesian fintech industry. And we have today in this session a very good friend, four good panelists from various different industry, profession, and of course our own cybersecurity agency. And let me just introduce them to you during this session. And we have Pak Anton Setiawan, who's the Director for Economic Digital Protection with our national cyber and crypto agency. Welcome, Pak Anton. How are you, Pak Anton?
Hello, Bardi. I'm fine. Hello, everyone.
And our second panelist and discussion partner, we have Pak Pandu Syahrir, who's the chairman of Indonesia from C Group. Pak Pandu, how are you? Long time no see. Okay. And we have again another good speaker. This speaker is very special. He's coming live with us straight from the US, Mr. Leon Perlman. Leon, are you with us now? I'm afraid Pak Leon is not yet with us, and we go to our last discussion partner and speaker, Pak Charles Lim from Swiss German University. Pak Charles, how are you? Very good. And the topic that we're going to discuss this afternoon is very, I say a good topic, but it's also very complex. Yeah. As you all know, in the last couple of years, most enterprises have been accelerating their pace of this digital transformation. And this also has led the fintech industry to do the same, yeah, and embarking on new technologies like cloud, edge computing, big data, IoTs. But despite all the technologies being adopted, they are also suffering the same problem as everyone else. That is, they are also suffering from the threat from cyber attacks. Yeah, and cyber attack now has been considered as the one of the most major barrier for our industry. Yeah, including not only the high-tech industries, government agencies, yeah, the small medium enterprises embarking on their journey into digital transformation. So to discuss this further, how it will affect all of our industry, let me just go to Pak Anton to discuss, how's the role of our national crypto and our national cyber and crypto agency in protecting our digital infrastructure as a whole, and where do you play a major role in participating as part of the protection components to this industry? Anton, please share your thoughts on this.
Okay, Bardi, thank you very much. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to the AFTEC committee who has given the opportunity to BSSN to speak at this forum. Pak Leon, Pak Niki, Pak Charles, nice to meet you in the forum. Dear participant, as we know, the fintech industry is one of the important pillars in the digital transformation of Indonesia. This industry provides solution for the wider community of easy and affordable financial services. The government commitment can be reflected in the President Jokowi instruction to accelerate digital transformation. One of the elements is how we prepare the infrastructure and the policy that can be encouraged the creation of a safe and reliable digital ecosystem. But as Pak Ardi say, on the other hand, the fintech industry faces considerably challenges, especially regarding cybersecurity. The financial services organization handle confidential data of business and individual. The adoption of fintech has brought a massive amount of data to the digital format, while the digitally available data make it easier to analyze and get insight, but also bring several cybersecurity challenges for fintech. There are five, Ardi, there are five biggest challenges in fintech enterprises. The first one is a consequence of data security. When a large number of financial services are going digital, it becomes challenging for business to maintain data universality and data security, right from time collecting to data to storing it. And with the rise of the usage of net banking and mobile banking solution, fintech enterprise has massive amount of user data to handle. This is the first problem facing for the fintech industry. And however, the collection of data is one thing, and maintaining the security at all level is another. The personal, financial, the health data is very confidential. Protection in this data and information is still one of the biggest privacy of cybersecurity challenges for fintech industry, for us also as a regulator. As we know, the government and the House representative right now working together for the personal data protection law. The second one is the sharing of data. Another thing that has made easier for customer to get better services and product at lower prices is the collaboration between traditional financial organization like a bank and digitally transformed financial enterprise like a fintech. The backbone of such collaboration is sharing data in a seamless manner. Since the data model of traditional is different from the digitally transformed business, there is a need for stronger mechanism to seek the consent of consumer for data sharing. The third, we're facing about management of digital identities. We have a problem in this aspect. Management of digital identities of the consumer and business is a key challenge for fintech enterprises. The digital identities are increasingly being used nowadays to enable an integrated and omni-channel experience for the user. Bank and another financial institution power their mobile app and other equipment with biometric sensor like a fingerprint scanner to authenticate the user and enable authorized access to services. Apart from biometric, mobile app use one-time password and code generating app for user authentication. These practices are more secure than conventional screen pattern, password, and PIN. While the use of digital identities has strengthened the level of fintech cybersecurity, at the same time, it is become complicated to clone and manage all the identities. In the event of cyber attack, if these identities are stolen, the attackers can access the confidential data and steal huge sum of consumer account. And fourth, we fetching cross-platform malware infection. Fintech enterprises use multiple digital platforms for distinct purposes, such as cloud services from one vendor and website essential from another vendor. So it is possible for hacker to develop malware to infect one platform and then propagate to another platform. And the last one, we have facing a cloud-based security risk. Most of the digital services are today powered by cloud computing, Pak Ardi. In the financial services industry, include cloud services are the one most used services for digital transformation. The payment gateway, digital wallet, mobile app, website use cloud-based services for scalability, security, speed, and many other benefits. However, it is important to reliable cloud services provider who can offer the secure and customized cloud solution. This is the government concern in preparing infrastructure and policy related to cybersecurity in the fintech industry. That's Pak Ardi.
Well, thank you, Pak Anton, for sharing your thoughts. It's quite a big job, yeah, that has been bestowed to our National Cyber and Crypto Agency in protecting what we call end-to-end digital infrastructure in Indonesia. It's quite a big challenge for Pak Anton, his team.
Exactly.
And of course, they can only also function with the cooperation from the industry. Now, coming to our next speaker, my discussion partner, Pak Pandu, who's actually a practitioner from the industry. You know that cybersecurity is becoming a very big requirement to all businesses now. And the challenges is, I would say, monumental. And apart from that, you're also facing other challenges, which is what we call the unknown challenges, which is yet to be identified. And there's a lot of sphere of issues facing the industry, your businesses, of course, everyone's businesses. Now, how do you address all these issues and incorporating all these issues into your corporate planning? Yeah. And how do you, what is your strategies in implementing all these challenges to meet the requirement, yeah, to protect your customer, and so on? Please share your thought, Pak Pandu. Thank you.
Yeah, Pak. Thanks for the question. Actually, that's a very big question, Pak. And that's something where I think if I say we know 100%, I think that won't be right, because the market itself is changing very rapidly. I would say because of COVID, the acceleration from offline to online has accelerated significantly. I would say business plan that's supposed to happen 2 years from now is happening today. And, essentially, if you are thinking big picture, essentially most of the people, because of work from home, social distancing, I think this will be a multi-year change, right? And Indonesia, to be honest, has been a big beneficiary because of technology. And now with respect to payment, right? Now I think the changes of payment, it will become increasingly significant. I think and if you put it in a global context, we're probably one of the fastest growing and the fastest adopter moving from offline to online. And lastly, I just need to mention, the recent work with the president of BBI, Bangga Buatan Indonesia, we essentially, within the first week, we added 1 million, right? The entire online world added 1 million of small, medium enterprises since May. And up to today, I think it's probably close to 8 million new sellers, new small, medium enterprises have moved from offline to online. And that's significant. 8 million is essentially the size of a country in Southeast Asia for one or two countries, right? I mean, that's significant. It's an entire Singapore moved from offline to online. Now, when you talk about payment, if you put it, there's actually three things that I think is key. One is about the governance of the data that we capture, right? Number two is the availability and access and adoption of technology and infra. And this is where obviously Bank Indonesia is central, eKYC, open banking, cybersecurity. And I think next will be cloud infrastructure. And how do you think about cloud? And lastly, and probably most importantly from a stakeholder engagement perspective, is consumer protection. And when you talk about consumer protection, it's multiple. One is in terms of financial education and literacy. So they have to know. What does this mean, right? If I sign up for Shopee Pay, what does that mean, right? Second, in terms of standard, and when you talk about international standard, which standard, right? There's the Western standard. There's also now, because China has become such a significant player in a global scale, their standard too, right? And this is also important. I think our view, I think Indonesia also have to have its own Indonesian standard that probably serves best both practices. And I think this is important, right? And lastly, industry code of conduct. How, as we as industry, are working in terms of a code of conduct. So I compartmentalize it, Pak Ardi, into three different things, right? So for us and C, we've benefited a lot. I think we've grown quite a bit, and now we've become a very active participant also in the payment side. I think we're being very careful and thoughtful on how we go and conduct our business. And obviously this business is changing very rapidly. And I just want to give you context to everyone who is listening. When we started Shopee December 2015, we started still only 5-6 years ago. 95% of transaction was done cash on delivery. So cash, manual. Today, it's probably 98% is done using either Shopee Pay, using online method, no longer cash on delivery. And any very significant change, if you look in the context of history, we're one of the very few countries that can adapt and change so significantly. And that is so important because that means the adoption of technology, mobile technology especially, has been a big game changer. And I think this will move us. I think it's an opportunity for us the next 10 years to move from a developing country, hopefully the next decade, be part of a developed country. And technology, I think, will bring us there. So I'm just giving you big picture, but I mean, if I tell you my budget for next year, I think, we've been completely wrong this year about the budget. We didn't know the adoption into e-commerce is going to be so big, right? Bangga Buatan Indonesia was made, the idea was thought out in April. May was implemented by everyone. And now we have more than 8 million plus new sellers coming online. Nobody has predicted that, and that's super significant. And it's actually, if you read the latest Temasek Google report that was done yesterday, even that number I think is incorrect. The growth of the e-commerce market is even higher than whatever Google and Temasek mentioned yesterday. So maybe I'll stop there, but it's very exciting, but also from a regulatory perspective, we also have to be careful, and we also have to be forward-looking. But what will this mean for Indonesia? As people adopt more into technology and using financial technology and using fintech, what does that mean? Because obviously there's a lot of downside risks associated with that. And for us, what matters from C and Shopee is that we just have to do the right thing. That's the most important. Whatever that means, we just have to do the right thing for our stakeholders, for our customers, right? Shareholders, and obviously to regulators. So I'll stop there, Pak Ardi. Thank you for allowing me to share a little bit of our thoughts and the way we think about cybersecurity.
Thank you, Pak Pandu. Indeed, it is a very challenging and exciting time now that we are now facing, especially now with the pandemic still in play. So I'm quite sure that within the next few months or maybe when the time comes, there will be more and more challenges to not only our digital industry, but it's also relating to educating the market. Despite all the advance in the technologies, despite all the numbers, I have read, the result of the Temasek Google research just now. I agree with you. They are too conservative in their numbers. So we just have to guesstimate, given the result of the recent APG survey of the internet users in Indonesia. We just have to guesstimate that, despite advancing technology, people are still going to migrate to digital. You like it or not, that's the way to go. Yeah. But despite the numbers of people, consumers, everybody, the small, medium enterprise is going digital, we will encounter more and bigger problem, especially relating to security, cybersecurity, digital security, so many phrases we use. So in that sense, I just want to poke Pak Charles' thought on this, he's actually coming from the education perspective. He's been teaching students about technologies. He's also my discussion partners on various issues. But it will be interesting, how to see the role of the educational system, the institution of higher learning, teaching people, students, aspiring entrepreneur coming into the digital industry. How do you see this? Pak Pandu has shared the challenges. Pak Anton is already just spoke about how the government will play a role in protecting our sensitive digital infrastructure. Now, where do the institutional of higher learning play a role? Can you just share some thoughts on this, Pak Charles? Please, Pak Charles.
Okay, thank you, Pak Ardi. Yes, it is a pleasure to actually share how we actually can be successful in educating people, because in cybersecurity, people, process, and technology is utmost important. So as we actually educate people in the cybersecurity, one of the most important thing is we usually encourage people to do research. Because the research actually provide an opportunity for all, not just students, but actually industrial people, practitioner who is coming in as a master student, they can actually show their capabilities and also innovations. So I think those are actually very important to actually show and actually demonstrate how they can actually participate in cybersecurity. So one of the most important thing we do in national context, we partner with Badan Cyber Sandi Negara. We actually do a research in malware. I think Pak Anton already mentioned one of the highest cybersecurity threats are actually malware. So we actually do research in malware, and we have a National Malware Center in BSSN. We also monitors cybersecurity attack into Indonesia. You can actually go to BSSN website. There is a monitoring center where we actually monitor cybersecurity and also malware that actually attack our infrastructure. Now, one of the most important thing is as we actually go into the digital world, cybersecurity framework is actually consists of, as we know from NIST, actually 5 components, right? So these components are actually a part of the incident response. So we need to teach these people how to actually respond, immediately, because those threats are real, And basically, this becomes very important to actually handle the security threats in any industry, including the financial sector or even fintech industry. And one of the most important thing, if I may share the components, may I share the screen now?
Yes, Pak Charles, I think will be good idea. I mean, we talk so much about various things. I think if you have some visual that to share with us, please share the visual with us. Thank you, Pak Charles.
Okay, okay, thank you. Can you see my slide now?
Yes.
Okay, so as you probably already know, cybersecurity framework is actually 5 components, and I am not going to show the whole thing, but this one is actually basically how we actually educate people to think about cybersecurity framework. There are 3 components that is essential in cybersecurity framework. The first one is the core, which is the 5 components of cybersecurity framework defined by NIST. This is actually, identification, detections and all that. This is where we actually teaching people how to do incident response. The second thing is actually the tiers. The tiers is basically your maturity level. Every company which is a fintech industry, they start out with a very small company. They are startup companies. And so they maybe usually very limited resources. So maybe they can start with a very simple risk approach to their industry. So this is where the tiers comes in. Yeah, you actually go in progress. Now, the third one is actually profiling, meaning that you bring your industry stage by stage, whereby you prioritize and factoring all this risk component so that you can actually go into the next level. Again, cybersecurity is always about risk-based, so you have to approach everything by risk-based. So here is these 5 components that I talk about. This is where you identify, you protect, you detect, you respond, and you recover, right? So these are the 5 components of the framework. And the tiers are sort of the maturity level, that you want to bring from, let's say, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4. All these tiers are actually into more mature company. The profile is actually what you want now and what you actually going to be. So this is how you actually go from small to actually a bigger company where you actually pay attention on each of these components. Now, the implementation tiers, you can start with very simple partial processing with number 2 tiers actually go into where your risk is already informed. And then the third tiers, usually your process is already repeatable. And now your tier 4 is actually now become more mature and adaptable. So these are the so-called tier approach, right? And by implementing these tiers, you can pay attention on the control also. We call this as security control, where you put this control at each level, right? Level 1, level 2, level 3, where the level 1 actually say that, that you are actually pay attention on common and minimum standard control, right? And then the level 2 is talking about minimum standard basic control. And then level 3 is actually more activity specific control to standards. So for example, like your activity base are like lending, personal finance, payment, cryptocurrency, or even, Pak Pandu was talking about open API. We can talk about this API-based activity risk control. So by using this approach, you can actually grow, smaller to bigger and with the risk-based approach. Now, the last one, the risks and the challenges is actually on the web application and the mobile application itself. So I hear these are more technical, but you can see here that each of this point is a very so-called threats, where you have to pay attention on the threats, yeah, where you actually limit what you actually do, and pay attention on and control also each of this level. So by using what we call threat modeling, anticipating threats at each level, we can handle all this access control, exception handling, system configuration, one of the most risky things that people usually forget. And then data security, which is usually found in the cloud, that is actually mentioned by Pak Anton. So basically, these are the challenges that actually very important that these people who are actually in the fintech industry need to pay attention. That's all, Pak Ardi. I hope this can actually explain what I have in mind about your question.
Thank you, Pak Charles. Wow, it's very complex, complex issues and steps that needs to be taken. Now, before we go into the next session, which is the Q&A, I just want to to hear your thoughts, three of you, your thoughts in short, very interesting what Pak Charles just share with us, but this technical issues that has been confronted by Charles is very complex. A part of complex is also very technical. Now, how BSSN, Pak Anton, translate and transform these challenges into regulatory approach, and how do you put this forward into the industry for them to really to understand the approach is very important, and we know we have been discussing about the importance of developing human talent, the soft skill in cybersecurity. How this approach Pak Charles just share with us, how do you see this being put into the regulation, the regulatory issues, the government? I'm quite sure that you are also nearly talking to other relevant government institution and so on. Please share your thoughts on this, Pak Anton.
Pak Ardi, thank you. Very interesting. In the process of regulating innovation, regulators like us are often faced with the task of balancing conflicting priorities, such market growth or competition, with the integrity, safety, and stability in financial system. So we put the policy with the collaboration with the other regulator, with the other stakeholder like fintech association. We collaborate. We transform the technical side, like Pak Charles already presented, to the policy. For example, if we use about the framework of cybersecurity, we transform it with the condition in Indonesia. So we provide index kami, Pak Ardi. Index kami. This is the self-assessment for the industry to know what their capability, what level of the maturity of the system. So they can elaborate and cooperate with the regulation to fulfill the need of the need of the stable and the secure business in the fintech industry. We collaborate and we share the responsibility between the BSSN, between the Central Bank of Indonesia, OJK, and also we share the responsibility about the conduct of the business with the association. This is the approach that BSSN moving in the area of cybersecurity in the fintech industry.
Thank you, Pak Anton. Now, what about you, Pak Pandu? How do you see this being incorporated into your corporate planning? Because I'm quite sure you're not only thinking about how to develop and grow your company. What about your customer? How do you transform this into your customers' education and awareness?
Well, I think because of COVID too, I think we have to be proactive in terms of spending our marketing dollars, in terms of capturing our customers. And our customers are too, both buyers and sellers. And our idea is how are we able to ensure that our buyers and sellers have the best experience in our platform. So it's multiple, right? One is obviously the ease of use. Number two, the ease of transaction. And number three is the safety of these transactions, right? Safety and security of these transactions. And Shopee Pay obviously is an enabler of that, and that's what we're trying to do. So when you talk about corporate planning, at the heart of it, you have to listen to the customers, right? And there's a lot of changes happening, but I'm so sure next time we're talking again in the same forum in November, this industry probably has grown, and also the complexities and the issue we face are becoming also more complex, right? We haven't even talked to the point of lending. We haven't gone to the issue of real massive fraud because there's been limitation. But there will be. I mean, I think even in the offline market, when you talk about it, there's already issues that on a larger scale of fraud, security, right? Tapi the most important point, I think, and this is obviously because regulators are involved here, we have to be forward-looking. I think you, Papa, also as a chairman of the association, also have to work hand in hand and close. But karena the technology industry today is massive. I mean, if you look, and if you read the Google Temasek report yesterday, Pak, the combined market capitalization of the tech companies today are larger than the telco companies, Pak. And this is within 7 years, Pak. So if you put the combined market capitalization of every single telecom companies in Indonesia, technology today is bigger. In 7 years, Pak, less than a decade, less than one presidency, Pak. And that's massive, right? So we, as obviously, as participants and people that are working in this industry, we have to adapt fast. When you talk about adoption, you know, how are we able to create for 1 year from now? How can you create regulation that makes sense for the next 24 months, 36 months? Because things are changing very fast, right? So if you think today the market cap of a lot of these tech companies 100 billion or plus, I mean, see today as a company, we're close to 90 billion. So if you add the others, so over 100 billion plus, right? Imagine in 2 3 years, if it's 200 billion, 300 billion, how do we adapt to these changes? And I think being open-minded and being forward-looking and being close to industry is becoming increasingly important, especially after COVID and the fact that people are adopting more and more into using technology in their daily lives. That's it from me, Pak. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm quite sure that you're exciting looking at the numbers. And
I
I'm
think
quite sure. Huh?
Yeah, not necessarily just excitement, but I mean, the biggest risk with fintech is always regulation. So I think the most important is how can we work closer and how can we be more forward-looking, Pak, in terms of this, because this is a whole new ballgame, menurut saya, Pak.
Yeah,
And this is something where you just have to be very open-minded.
Yeah, agree. You know, I totally 100%, 1000% agree with you, Pak Pandu. Now it comes, you know, now, given that all of you have given your thoughts on these issues, yeah, we are now boils down to specific issues that you know, Pak Pandu just mentioned about transparencies, and I think one of you gentlemen just mentioned about collaboration, you know. And I just want to ask Pak Anton, you know, because you're coming from the you know, the regulator's side, and you've been my friend for many years, and you know, I mean, you know, I know the way you think, your agency thinks, you know, but how do you see, how do you play a role, yeah, in you know, uniting all of us in India industry, and you know, putting what Pak Charles was saying, you know, because I foresee that you know, the education, because the numbers so big, the numbers very attractive, you know, what Pak Pandu was saying. That means the challenge for us as a practitioner, and we call ourselves the cyberman, you know, and it's becoming very challenging. You know, how do you foresee the role of your agency in uniting us, you know, to work together? This is very good challenge, you know, and I think everyone agree, all the panelists agree, you know, it's quite interesting. What can we implement? What kind of strategy can we implement together to unite us? Please share your thoughts on this, Pak Anton.
Yeah, Pak Ardi. In cybersecurity, I think we have a BSSN as a lead agency, but we must also remember that there is other agency in the sectoral that responsible also with the cybersecurity in the sectoral aspect. Like if we have a fintech industry, we have BI and OJK, yeah, central bank and the authority of financial services. So the first of all, for the regulator like us, we have a consolidation with the BI, with the OJK to maintain the policy is not to make a barrier for the innovation and the public service. This is the first one. And the second one is we encourage to both of the association of the sectoral industry, the association, the support from them to maintain the industry and collaborate with the regulator. So this is the industry come with the association and the regulator from the BSSN and also the sectoral regulator. We have some forum to discuss, to maintaining, to provide the policy that can boost the innovation in, especially in the fintech industry.
Okay, thank you, Pak Anton. Now, because I noticed that there's also some question that's been raised by our audience, our guests, attendees. Yeah, I was just wondering, because I think we have been discussing this among four of us about various issues. Now, apart from the challenges that we all face, Pak Anton, Pak Pandu, and Pak Charles, do you see the role of multi-stakeholder can shape up, shape our entire industry much better? I mean, how do you see this? The role of everyone, I mean, the ecosystem of your industry, of course, is not only, Pak Pandu is coming from the provider side, the service provider. Pak Charles coming from the educator's side. Pak Anton coming from government side. I come from, I represent many people. So, how do you see, us, and you know very well, there was a question just been raised just a few minutes ago regarding what are the challenges that all of us face, because I'm quite sure not, despite all the regulations, our thoughts, our knowledge, our experience, the problem still remains that none of us are uniting. None of us have the same views of how we run the whole business. And this can become a loophole or a backdoor, or so to speak, and an opportunity for becoming a risk of cybersecurity. I mean, do you share these thoughts with me, or maybe you have other views about it? Please, let me just give this question to Pak Pandu. How do you foresee this?
But I think at the end of the day, as this industry gets bigger, and we want to always think positively, tapi there's always going to be, issues, right? Just like any other industry. I think fraud, security, whenever there's big opportunity, people can also look at it a different way to capitalize on this opportunity. So, okay, I mean, we as one of the market leaders, and I think we want to be a good steward, but we want to be a good corporate citizen. At the end, it goes back to the value of us as a business. I'm trying to answer your question in a nice way, Pak Ardi, okay? Karena I think there's always going to be issues right? Where all stakeholders, individuals, and I think maybe different between us and Indo compared to China, which is probably a bit more advanced, right? And to be honest, homogeneous, different than America, which is a developed country. And I think I would say there, even though it's heterogeneous in terms of the population, but there's a slightly higher level of sophistication. Our job, the next 12 to 24 months, and I think the next whenever as we exist, have to continuously educate. Like this forum, things that we do in our platform, to continuously educate. I'm not saying that Shopee doesn't have issues with fraud. As we get bigger, there are always going to be people, right? You guys probably receive SMSs that says it's from us, but it's not us, right? And we have created essentially big customer service, big fraud team, in terms of the way our data center is probably the best data center you can have, right? At least for today. But all we're saying is that as the industry is growing, but our job is to be a good corporate citizen. And by doing that, we have to take lead, an example, and by over communicating what we do. That this type of forum is so important for us to communicate the way we think, illustrate what we're doing and where we're going. Makanya pa, we use this forum too to encourage everyone that's listening and all of you that are important stakeholders. How can we collaborate further? Kana issues will always be there pa. As this industry gets bigger, in fact, we see more complicated issue. Tapi our job is not to be defensive. We have to be offensive, looking at these issues and how to address it quickly and address it well in terms of communication. Karena our country is still growing and we're adapting to this new world post-COVID. So I'm answering your question differently, Pa, because I think that's probably the best way to go about it. But I think us as Shopee Pay, and the entire C Group, we need to be a very good corporate citizen, whatever that we do. Okay, Pa? Jadi itu, at the end, it goes back to us as a counterparty to our stakeholders.
Thank you, Pak Pandu. As we now reach the end of our session, I'm also going to allow and entertain one question from the audience. There's a good question. Pak Anton mentioned about data protection just at the beginning, that we are now on the eve of discussing our proposed bill for data protection and privacy, which is now being convened in a meeting with our parliament. And there's a question that just came in, asking what is the timeline, of this proposed bill? Is it coming, or is it still being discussed? Is it coming? Is it going to be enacted by the end of the year? I don't know. I don't have the answer actually, because I'm not within that ecosystem of discussion. Maybe, Pak Anton, do you have any insight? Whether are we going to have this our data protection act in place, quickly, or maybe we have to wait another 20 years? I mean, do you have any insight, Pak Anton? Can you share with us?
Yeah, Pak Adi. As I know, we are also in the team of government team. Yesterday, we have a meeting with the parliament to make some formulation or harmonization about the. We have a list from the parliament who we must accommodate and harmonize in the draft. And I think for the government side, we hope the regulation or the act, the Data Protection Act, will be signing by the end of the year, Pak Ardi.
Oh, that's a good news. We've been hoping, as you know, that all of us has been working on this very, very long time, very hard.
Yeah, Pak Ardi.
And just to share with our audience,
one of them.
Yeah, and let me just share with the audience that the proposed data protection bill, all of us in the industry have been working on this for more than 20 years. Yeah, that's way before we have our Pak Anton's agency in place. So it's been quite a journey, but at least we have a proposed bill, and hopefully it will be enacted by the end of the year. And Pak Pandu, I think this will be a very good, some sort of assurance assurance for you in the industry, Pak Charles, a good issue, and for you and your students at the university to discuss. So now we have reached the end of the session this afternoon. I just like to have a closing statement from each of the panelists about what we have discussed. What can we do to work together? And one thing I must also mention to the audience who are listening and watching through various channels, the discussion does not end because of the time limit. If you have any further question or any thoughts, or please do raise them and send it to the committee of this summit. And of course, I'm quite sure that the committee will forward it to each of us, and we will try to answer each of your question in due time. Please, I will give this last closing statement to Pak Charles from SGU. Pak Charles, what's your closing statement on this?
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Ardi. Yeah, so in cybersecurity, Pak, if we are talking about protecting information, one of the most important thing is we always discuss, people, process, and technology. That means whenever we talk about cybersecurity, we always need to mention or actually consider people, process, and technology, because these three things are actually the most essential part. And the second things in cybersecurity is that it's always progressive. What it means is that you cannot achieve everything in one day. So what it means is that you have to measure it partially, and then you improve from there, right? You go from level 1, you go to level 2, you go to level 3, and each level you try to reduce your risk. And so that's how you actually approach. In cybersecurity, that's how you actually reduce your risk, and that's how you actually achieve your overall goal in protecting the cybersecurity. That's all, Pak Ardi.
Thank you. Pak Pandu, your closing statement, please.
Pa, I think from us, from C, thank you, Pa, for having us, being in this important conversation. The only thing we would like is to work closer together with regulators and stakeholders, Pa, and we need to learn to always adapt and change, because this industry will change very fast. And whatever regulation we do, we know that regulation is made by humans. We always adapt, that there's always going to be imperfection in regulation. And our job is to always change with time and change with the development in the technology industry. And I think for us, we just want to thank everyone for allowing us to at least give a voice and share our thoughts. And thank you, Pa, for having us here.
Thank you, Pak Pandu. Pak Anton, your final closing statement?
Yeah, Pak Ardi. To keep up with the rapidly evolving financial landscape, the regulator, including BSSN, we are working on the first is regulatory framework. The second one is capacity building, included the customer, because the customer is essential for staying on the top of technology development. And the third is active engagement and initiative with the industry and association. Thank you, Pak Ardi.
Thank you. Bapak, Ibu, ladies and gentlemen, now we have reached the final of the session, and I just like to say thank you for listening, watching, and I'd like to thank all of our three panelists for joining us this afternoon for the very important discussion. And hopefully, this will not end with this discussion this afternoon. We will again continue the discussion offline. And please, Bapak, Ibu, ladies and gentlemen, try to discuss and liaise with the organizing committee if you have any further thoughts or questions that you need to raise. Having said that, I'd like to end this session, and I'd like to express the thanks to everyone who has made this session possible for us to share our thoughts and ideas. But one most important thing is, please bear in mind, working in technology sector is not something that you can do things alone. You have to work together. It's a multidisciplinary discipline industry, Yeah, you have to be very transparent. Yeah, and then have an open mind, and we can be innovative. We can grow together and shape up our future technology industry, especially our fintech industry. Thank you so much, and see you again in the next session.